In today's show, we're going to talk about whether or not you should be maxing out your 401k for your retirement, or if you should be choosing other options before putting more into your 401k. So if you're contributing to a 401k, maxing out your 401k, or just have the ability to put in more than your company match, stick around because we're going to talk about all of the options, which choices might be right for your specific situation, and then how your decisions can impact you from a tax and liquidity standpoint.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Sierens, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Welcome to the Retirement Show, all about your life, your money, and your taxes. I'm your host, Scott Sierens, and my goal is to help you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement. And I'm coming to you today from the frozen state of Illinois. I think when I just looked at my weather forecast on my phone, it said we're sitting at a -9 today, and then it said feels like -26. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems like the older I get, the more warmth that I need. I can just remember being back in grade school and my mother begging me to put on gloves and hats and warm socks and making sure that I've got my coat on or two coats on. And I'm telling you, not needed anymore. Weather like this, I'm putting on 2 pairs of socks. I'm making sure my gloves are on. I've got warm coats on. So I'm not sure if you're the same as me, but boy, the colder it gets, the more clothes I need. That's for sure. Well, hey, as we continue to venture into this new format for our video podcast, again, you can find the podcast on YouTube, but you'll also continue to get it on all of your podcast players. And as we venture into this new format, I'm going to continue to add new technology where we're writing on the screen or sharing our screen. And as I do that, if you're just listening to the audio only, don't worry, we'll give you some great visuals on what we're talking about. We'll always include links to any websites, descriptions, you name it. You can always find that in the YouTube description as well as in the podcast description or in the show notes, which is located in our website, which is lifemoneyshow.com. And you can find a lot of videos there, a lot of previous podcasts there, lifemoneyshow.com. Again, that's lifemoneyshow.com. You can always find the show notes and everything like that. We're going to venture into this new year with 2 podcasts a month. And my goal is to always use the podcast to give insights on retirement topics. Today, we're going to talk about whether you should max out your 401k first, or whether you should consider other options and other investments first before maxing out your 401k. In addition to that, I always love the listener questions that we get in and want to continue to help provide answers to those, not answers, but provide insights, thoughts, guidance to those questions, because I find that sometimes you can put yourself into other people's shoes. You can learn from other people's situations, from their questions, from the strategies that we talk about in those questions. So at the end of today's show, we're going to talk about we're going to go over a listener question in regards to Social Security. And then you might say, well, that's kind of what we've been doing in the past. And you're right. We've added video. We're going to add some screen share in the future and all that technology. But then the other thing that I want to talk about as well in our podcast every other week is I want to tackle anything that's current, that's relevant, that you might be hearing or that might be trending in the news that would impact your finances or your retirement, and give you my thoughts and insights on what it is that we're hearing about. So hopefully you enjoy the new format. Again, you can find everything on YouTube. You can find everything on lifemoneyshow.com, or we're going to continue to be on your favorite podcast player. On YouTube, find us at Sierens Financial Group. That's SIERENS, and look forward to having you as a subscriber. Don't forget you can always use the timestamps that are in the YouTube descriptions and the podcast player descriptions, and we've got the timestamps on our website. So if different subjects you want to skip around, feel free, go ahead and do that as well. All right, with that, let's dive in. What's new? Or what's in the news right now. And one thing that's in the news right now that you might be seeing in some of the articles, some of the headlines, is that spot Bitcoin was just approved by the SEC on January 10th. Now, let me just be clear on one thing. This discussion here is for informational purposes only. By no means does talking about spot Bitcoin mean that I'm in favor or against spot Bitcoin, nor does it mean that I'm saying it's a good investment or bad investment. I just want to provide you some information about what you're going to be hearing about in the news, seeing in the headlines in regards to spot Bitcoin. So let's start with this. What is it? What is spot Bitcoin? And again, it was just approved by the SEC, approved 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs on January 10th, and several actually started trading on January 11th. What is it? Well, a spot Bitcoin ETF allows investors to gain exposure to the price of Bitcoin without holding it directly. ETF shares are listed on a traditional stock exchange and traded in the same manner as a regular ETF. Well, first off, an ETF is an exchange-traded fund. We've talked about ETFs on the podcast and in the YouTube channel a lot in different videos. An ETF basically is holding something, right? And then you trade that ETF. So for instance, there's ETFs that follow or that are index ETFs and would follow the index of the S&P 500. So it's trying to replicate the S&P 500. And in that ETF, what's happening is that it holds multiple stocks that represent the S&P 500. But instead of owning 500 different stocks, you own one ETF, exchange traded fund, that then owns all of those stocks. So you're buying and selling that ETF. And an ETF is I think a lot of people always think of mutual funds. So there you go, mutual fund, ETF, very similar in what they do. So now we've got an ETF that allows investors to gain exposure to the price of Bitcoin. A spot Bitcoin ETF, the spot Bitcoin ETFs have Bitcoins as their underlying asset. So you're able to gain exposure to Bitcoin without holding it directly. And I'm going to give you my thoughts in regards to all of this kind of as I get done here talking about it. But I've got some really detailed information that I want to give you first, and then I'm going to kind of tell you hey, here's what to know. Now, these spot Bitcoin ETFs are managed by a firm that issues shares of its own Bitcoin holdings. Again, you're not holding it directly, you're gaining exposure to it. The performance of these ETFs typically follow Bitcoin prices very closely, minus the fees and the fund's trading costs. However, and really careful, really good to know here, there's no guarantee of this. So it's supposed to follow the price of Bitcoin, but there's no guarantee that it would do that. Also, I think just good to know, and I'll link to this in the show notes and in the description, the quote here. In a statement on January 10th, the SEC noted, while we approved the listing and trading of certain spot Bitcoin share ETF shares today, we did not approve or endorse Bitcoin. Investors should remain cautious about the myriad risk associated with Bitcoin and products whose value is tied to crypto. Okay, so here's what to know. This is giving people the ability to follow the pricing of Bitcoin. Hold an investment that's following the pricing of Bitcoin, but without actually owning Bitcoin directly. What should you know about that as well? Well, if it's something that interests you, know that this Bitcoin, these spot ETFs, are a very high risk investment because of high volatility, meaning the pricing of these can fluctuate drastically up and down. So that's really important to know. And it can not only fluctuate drastically, but it can also fluctuate rapidly, meaning really instantaneously. So I think what's important to understand here is when it comes to your overall picture, you always want to consider your specific goals. You want to consider your specific investment strategy in regards to any sort of investment that you're adding into your overall portfolio. What are your goals? What are your objectives? And what are you trying to achieve? Because things like this come out and you'll see a lot of it in the headlines, a lot of it in the news. And sometimes people will start going to chase the new shiny object, or you can almost feel like you might be missing out on something. And instead of feeling like that, you have to, again, look at your total picture. What are you trying to achieve? Not what are these headlines trying to achieve, or what's your neighbor trying to achieve, or somebody else with totally different investment goals and objectives. What are you trying to achieve? And does this really fit into that picture, or does it not? And if you were to, be considering or thinking about this, you want to look at okay, of your overall picture, what percentage would you want this to fit in? If you're somebody in retirement that is really looking to, looking at your investments as your new income source, can you afford to have something in your portfolio that's going to fluctuate rapidly and drastically, fluctuate down as well as up and down, right? So really things to consider there. But hey, wanted you to know and understand about spot Bitcoin because you'll probably be seeing it in the news and headlines if you haven't already. And then one little article here that I thought would be fun to talk about, a little bit different than spot Bitcoin, is an article from Upworthy.com. Here we go. Harvard's 85-year study reveals the one thing that's the key to happiness, and it's pretty simple. I'll link to this whole article in the show notes as well as the description below. So here we go. An 85-year-old study from Harvard shared that there is one simple element to add to gain happiness. The study has been one of the longest running ones and has been experimenting with men who were teenagers back in the 90s. The study shared that there is one factor to consider to procure happiness that many may not know about. And here you go. Are you ready? The one thing that the Harvard study here says to procure happiness, it's not money, it's not where you live, it's not what you do, but it's staying connected. That's it, staying connected. Isn't that interesting? I mean, we think sometimes, or you see out there sometimes, you're watching YouTube videos or Instagram videos or TikTok videos or whatever, and you're like, man, what's driving happiness for people? And they got a lot of things going on. But an 85-year study here revealing that the top thing to secure happiness is staying connected. It's not where you live. It's not if you're in the South or in the North. I'm sure sometimes there's some people a lot happier than me right now because it's really cold up here in Illinois. It didn't say it's how much money you have. It's not how much you have in investments. It's staying connected. It's being connected to other people, being connected to your family, being connected to your friends, just being connected to other people with similar interests or hobbies. So here's my challenge to you if you're in retirement or if you're going into retirement is, what are you doing to stay connected? What are you doing to help drive your happiness in retirement? Are you maybe joining different groups? I know like our gym, they've got different groups. They've got different activities. They've got different classes. All these classes have a lot of different people in them that, we get to meet and stay connected to. I know that there's a retirement community nearby here called Del Webb. They have a ton of different groups. There's different clubs. There's different groups for playing cards. There's clubs based on, like a German club, an Irish club. So there's a ton of different groups to join. And whether you're not part of a retirement community, I'm guessing there's different groups that you can find online as well. Or another way is volunteering or just, hey, calling family, calling your friends, saying, let's go grab dinner tonight. Let's meet up for a movie. Let's get together at my house or your house and play some cards or whatever it might be. So that's my challenge to you. The study here, and I'll link to it in the description again. What are you doing to stay connected? What are you doing to drive your connectivity to others on this earth and hopefully driving your happiness, whether it's in retirement or pre-retirement? So, okay, well, maybe next time we'll just take one article. I think that took quite a bit of time here, but that's okay. Hopefully you're finding it useful and valuable. But let's dive into our main topic today, which is in regards to your 401k. Should you be maxing out your 401k first, or should you be considering other investments, other options first before maxing out your 401k? So Maybe you're somebody who's already maxing out your 401k and you've been wondering about this. Maybe you have more money to save. You might not be maxing out your 401k, you just have more money to save and you're wondering what to do with it. Or maybe you're someone that's trying just to, catch up in those final few years to hit your, retirement goals and retirement targets, and you're putting more money away and you're wondering, hey, is it best to do it in the 401k and max that out, or is it best to do it somewhere else? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about reasons why you would want to, reasons why you would not want to, and then I'm going to talk about some of the alternatives as well. So when I say alternatives, not alternative investments, but alternative options that you have instead of saving into your 401k. All right, so let's start with why you would maybe want to save into your 401k. Max out that 401k, just focus on that first. Well, the first reason that you would always want to make sure you're contributing to your 401k is if there's an employer match. That's free money. You want to make sure that you're getting that free money, that employer match into your 401k. Now, that typically doesn't line up with maxing out your 401k, right? They're only going to go up to a certain percentage. So if you're maxing out your 401k, probably more than what the employer match is. But always on my mind, we want to make sure that you're starting off and you're always getting that employer match. Now, some reasons why you might want to use that 401k and max it out. And one of the major reasons is it because it allows you to put large amounts of money away for two potentially different purposes. And let's just first talk about how much. So in 2024, the base amount that you can contribute to your 401k is $23,000. Now there's the age 50 plus catch-up contribution, and that is $30,500. So $23,000, but if you're age 50 plus, you can put $30,500 away. So you can put large amounts of money into the 401k. Now, there's two different reasons why you might want to put those large amounts away. First off, maybe you're high income and you're looking for a tax deduction. So it's a way to get a larger tax deduction if you've got that money to save. Or the other potential reason is that you want to pay the tax today, but have a lot of money growing tax-free for you. That would be the Roth 401k. And the reason why I'm focusing on those and saying large amounts is because the only other way to get, tax deductions or tax-free growth with your retirement savings, not only other way, but the way that most other people would think about or use would be IRAs and Roth IRAs. And those are very limited into what you can put in, and they have earnings limits and wage limits, and you might not be able to put into those. So those 401ks and Roth 401ks allow you to put those higher amounts away. And then on top of that, so you might want to choose one or the other, right? So if you're high income today and you need a tax deduction, well, then you want to focus on that 401k and maxing that out. Heck, $23,000 tax deduction might help lower your overall taxes today, especially if you feel you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in the future. So you're just going to defer all of that money to later and then pay tax on it on a later date when you take it out. But maybe you think or feel like you'll be in a high income tax bracket in retirement, or you feel like taxes are going to go up in the future. Well, the 401k is also a great way, or I should say the Roth 401k then is a great way to put large amounts of money away to then have them grow tax-free. And again, I say large amounts because the IRAs, Roth IRAs, you're not able to put this much away. Okay, the third reason that you might want to max out your 401k is if you just have trouble savings. This could be a great way for you to automate your saving for the future. Just automate it, right? Don't worry about the alternative options that are out there, other things that you could do. Just automate the savings into your 401k. Because a lot of times people say, oh, I will do this instead, or I'll do that instead, but then they don't do it. So if you're someone like that might not do the other options, well, then just automate what you can into your 401k so that way you're saving for retirement. Now, okay, so some reasons why you might not want to max out your 401k. And again, this is where you'd want to just do the match only, and then reasons why you might want to be considering other options. But don't forget, get that company match. But some reasons why you might want to consider other options is maybe in your 401k, there's limited investment options, or the investment options that you have are high in fees or aren't the greatest investment options. For instance, I was looking at a client's investment options in their 401k the other day, and I was going through them, and they were all high expense ratios. There was not a low cost fund in their 401k. They would have better low cost fund options outside of their 401k. So, hey, costs are important. You need to look at that. You need to consider that. So should you be looking at your 401k? Or should you be using those funds or using funds outside of your 401k because maybe they're at a lower cost? Another reason that you might not want to max out your 401k is tax flexibility issues. Here's what I mean. Say your 401k does not offer the Roth option. So the only option that you have is just the 401k only. Well, putting all of your money into that 401k means that you're getting the tax deduction note today, but it means that you're deferring all of your retirement savings taxes until later in life. So when you retire, you've only got one place to go to for money. And when you pull that money out, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. And so let's just say, for example, you decide in your future that you want to go out and buy a camper. And that camper is going to, it's a big RV or something. It's going to cost you $100,000. You're going to take that $100,000 out of your 401k. Well, guess what? You only have one place to go, and it's a place that hasn't been taxed yet. And now you take out $100,000. That could push you up one or two tax brackets, depending on your situation. So you lose tax flexibility if you're putting all of your money into the same kind of tax account. Now, the other reason that you might not want to max out your 401k is from a liquidity standpoint. As we've talked about before, you're not able to, you can, but without penalty, you can't touch your 401ks, IRAs, Roth 401ks until age 59 and a half. Prior to age 59 and a half, if you're going to take a withdrawal from your traditional 401k, you're going to be subject to a 10% penalty. Now, there are some exceptions to the rules out there, but let's just say for the most part, if you're just looking for some retirement income, there's going to be a 10% penalty prior to age 59 and a half. So you'll lose that liquidity portion. Now, for some people, that's good, right? Because otherwise they'd take it, they'd use it. They wouldn't keep it around for retirement. But if you're somebody who might be, moving prior to age 59 and a half, you might need some but you might need some money to go and grab to do a project around the house, or for whatever reason that you might need it, you might need some money saved up and in an alternative spot, let's say. And so that's a reason why you might not want to max out your 401k. You want to create some other liquid funds that are going to be available to you prior to age 59 and a half. Okay, so with all that being said, you see why you may want to. You see why you might not want to. Now, if for you in your situation, it's like, oh boy, I might not want to max out my 401k, but what are the options that are out there? First off, let's just say your company only offers the traditional 401k. They don't offer the Roth 401k, and you feel like your taxes are going to be higher in retirement than where they're at today. Well, then you might want to consider, instead of maxing out the traditional 401k, you just get the company match and then use the Roth IRA. If you fall within the earnings limits to be able to contribute, then you want to use that Roth IRA instead of your traditional 401k. Now, some other alternatives that you might want to consider is a brokerage account. You see, the brokerage account, and all a brokerage account is, and I find a lot of people actually that I meet with, right, that are in their 60s, haven't really thought about this because they weren't getting, the guidance and the coaching. This is what really brings in the tax and liquidity flexibility for you, is a brokerage account. All it is a non-retirement investment account. That's it. You're able to do the same thing that you could do in your 401k, the same thing that you could do in your Roth 401k or IRA or Roth IRA. Just like you invest in all those accounts, you can invest in a brokerage account. And the difference is It's just how it's taxed and the liquidity of it, meaning you put money into a brokerage account today, you can get it before age 59 and a half, you can get it after age 59 and a half. Now we start to have some liquidity flexibility. And then how about tax flexibility? To me, tax flexibility, you really want to have money in all of the different tax buckets that are out there. Maybe some money in the traditional 401k. You've got money in your Roth types of accounts, Roth 401k, Roth IRAs, and then money in a brokerage account. They are all different from a tax perspective. So now, depending on whatever tax rates or your taxable income looks like in the future, you now have flexibility to be able to pull from different accounts. And a brokerage account, if managed properly, can be taxed at more favorable long-term capital gains rates. Dividends, if they're qualified dividends, again, taxed at long-term capital gains rates, which is a more favorable rate than your ordinary income rate that you would be facing with a traditional 401k. So it's kind of like a middle grounds there between the Roth, which of course is tax-free in your future, and the 401k, which is going to be ordinary income tax rates. It's kind of like a middle grounds from a tax standpoint there. So hopefully you've kind of used this now to help you understand, okay, you've got money to put away, or you're maxing out your 401k, or you've got extra to put away, or you're trying to catch up. If you have trouble saving, well, just use the 401k. But we also, like for clients, can set up automations into their brokerage account, automations into their Roth IRAs. And so there's other buckets to utilize that can give you tax flexibility, can give you liquidity flexibility, and that might be in your best interest to be utilizing versus maxing out your 401k. Or you feel like your taxes are going to be way lower in retirement than where they're at today, maybe maxing out your 401k is in your best interest. Hopefully you can use that to get some guidance on which direction you should go regarding your 401k. Okay, with that, we're going to wrap up with the listener question and then sign off for the day. So here we go. We've got our listener question from Jacob. Jacob says, I'm 67, so I've reached full retirement age for Social Security, but I don't have plans to retire anytime soon. Should I go ahead and start my Social Security now or just wait until I'm done working? All right, so we've got Jacob. He's 67. He's still working, hasn't given us a retirement date, hit his full retirement age, and he's wondering, should he start Social Security now or wait until when he does decide to retire to take it? Gosh, lots of different points that go in here, Jacob. As we don't have, your full overall picture, how much you've saved and how much you're going to need. Let me just provide some points that I want you to consider and to look at. And anybody that's in Jacob's position here that you should be thinking about before you start collecting Social Security. So I'm guessing one of the reasons Jacob's kind of asking this is because he knows that as he waits, each year that he waits to take Social Security, he gets that 8% increase for just delaying the decision of deciding to take Social Security. Now, one of the things that he wants to consider is longevity. How long does Jacob think that he will live? Is there a lot of longevity in his family? And just to kind of keep things simple, if you think that you're going to live into your 80s or longer, then delaying your Social Security as long as possible is going to be the most helpful thing to do. You will get the payback for waiting till age 70 to take your Social Security. But if you think you might pass away in the 70s, well, then maybe taking your Social Security as early as possible would be then in your best interest. But longevity isn't where it stops. And I find that's what most people look at, and then they kind of stop and try to make their decision. But there's a lot more that goes into it. Now, let's just say Jacob is married. You want to consider survivor's benefits. Remember, if you're a couple, when one person passes away, you only keep one of the two Social Securities and you keep the higher of the two. An additional couple things that Jacob wants to consider here is how much do you have in retirement savings? Based on your retirement savings and based on how much you're going to need to maintain your lifestyle, maybe you need your Social Security to continue to grow. Because the more it continues to grow, then it's less pressure it's going to take and put on your retirement savings to help you meet your lifestyle needs. So how much have you saved? Maybe you've got a ton in your retirement savings. so you could live off of that, no problem, don't even need Social Security, well, then maybe you take it now and reinvest it. Maybe Social Security is going to be a big part of that. Well, then maybe you wait so it's less pressure on your retirement savings. And then the last thing that I think people forget to take into account is taxes. If you are working and collecting Social Security, well, even if you're not working, your Social Security could potentially become 85%. 85% of it could potentially add into your taxable income. So depending on how much you're making, your Social Security now could become taxed. So in your situation, does it make sense to then take Social Security where 85% of it adds into your taxable income and now you're getting taxed on portions of your Social Security? Maybe so, maybe not. It all depends on how much you've got coming in for income. Now, one last thing that Jacob didn't mention, but I think people, this is always on their mind is, wait a second, if I collect Social Security and I'm still working, are they going to, and the word I always hear is penalize, are they going to penalize me for that or reduce my Social Security? Well, one key thing that Jacob said here in his question to us is that he is already at full retirement age. So if you're at full retirement age, you can collect as much Social Security as you want, work and collect as much income as you want, and there's no penalties, no deductions to your Social Security or anything like that. So Jacob, thanks for sending the question in. If you'd like to send a question in, all you do is go to this show on lifemoneyshow.com. So you go to lifemoneyshow.com, click on this podcast. Actually, click on any of our podcasts. On the right-hand side there, you'll see an area where you can submit your questions, and we'd be happy to answer them on one of the shows. Hey, thanks for joining me today on The Retirement Show, Your Life, Your Money, and Your Taxes. Hopefully you found it to be of value and benefit. If so, subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we're coming out with new videos, new podcasts every other week. But we also have new videos coming out on our YouTube channel each and every week on retirement topics like Social Security and reducing the taxes on your IRAs, 401ks, plus much, much more. So thanks for joining us, and I look forward to our next show to help you maximize your retirement story.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Sierens Financial Management, Inc. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Sierens Financial Management, Inc. are not subject to investment advisor requirements. AEWM and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including, but not limited to, a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc.